Good day, Junior Techies. I'm Mrs. Brimacombe. We are going to look now at Cost Accounting Activity 2. The focus is now going to be on break-even point and analysis. Mark Brook is the owner of Blues Hockey Equipment. They sell and manufacture hockey balls as one of their product lines. The financial year ends 31 March 2022. So we are going to look now at each one of these questions. The information presented, they've given us end of last year and end of this year. If we look at question 2.1, differentiate between fixed cost and variable cost. Fixed cost means that the cost remains the same over a period of time, irrespective of the amount of goods that were produced. If we look at variable cost, these costs vary in direct proportion to the amount of goods produced. Question 2.2. The total fixed costs increased from 2021 to 2022, yet the fixed cost per unit decreased. Explain to Mark why the fixed cost increased although the fixed cost per unit decreased. So if we just look at the information here, if you take note, the total fixed cost increased, yet the cost per unit decreased. This is what we call economies of scale. The units produced and sold increased from last year to this year. The number of units produced increased from 84,000 units in 2021 to 105 units in 2022. The increase in production will therefore cause the cost per unit to decrease. This term is important to understand. Make sure that you know what is economies of scales. If we look at 2.3, calculate the break-even point for the year ended 31 March 2022. So to calculate the break-even point, we have to take our total fixed cost divided by the selling price per unit minus the variable cost per unit. There are different ways in which the break-even point can be asked. You will notice this later on when we do other activities. So now to calculate the break-even point, the total fixed cost divided by the selling price per unit minus the variable cost per unit. Make sure that you round your answer up. This is the number of units that must be produced and sold in order for us to break even. Now question 2.4. Explain why Mark is pleased with the production level, sales and the break-even point. So this was why we need to look at 2021's figures as well. Remember when we're commenting on the break-even point, we look at the break-even point from last year to this year. We look at the number of units produced and sold, and then we also compare the break-even point with the number of units produced and sold. So if we look at the sales of production level increased from 84,000 units in 2021 to 105 units in 2022. So this is by 21,000. And if you want to work out the percentages, you have to take 21,000 divided by 84,000 times 100. That equals 25%. If we look at the revenue from sales, it increased from 1,680,000 in 2021. So how do we get that figure? We have to take 84,000 units times 20 Rand. 2,625,000. And to get that, we take the number of units times the selling price per unit. Then we can look at the productivity increase by 61,764 units. If we take 105 units minus the break-even point in 2022, this means that a profit was made on more products. The number of units produced and sold is more than the break-even point. Amount of profit increased. So what do? You have to take the contribution per unit, which is the selling price minus the variable cost, times the number of units manufactured and sold. So the same will need to happen for 2021. The break-even point decreased from 52,292 units in 2021 to 43,236 units in 2022. Make sure that you comment on the figures that you have calculated in question 2.3. Question 2.5. Mark made deliberate decisions regarding variable costs to improve the business. Explain the decisions that he might have taken on these costs and how these costs could have had a positive effect on the business, quote figure. So here we're specifically looking at what positive effect it would have on the business. If we look at direct raw materials cost, it increased. Make sure that you quote figures. It increased by R2.50. You can also use percentages. The positive effect of this is improve the quality of the hockey balls. If we look at direct labor cost, it decreased from R4.80 to R4.08 in 2022. So it decreased by 72 cents. Now remember, we're looking for what positive effect this could have. This could be because of improved efficiency through training, better supervision, more control over the overtime. If we look at the selling and distribution cost, it increased from R2.65 to R3.22, so by 57 cents. Positive effect this could have on the business. More money was spent in advertising to increase sales, more deliveries made to wider area. So remember with this question, we're not looking at negative effects. We're looking at what positive effects it would have on the business. Thank you very much. Next, we're going to look at activity 3. I want to leave you with this quote: an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Have a wonderful day.